listeners to Minalations 669. This is the random podcast with random topics, mostly humor, mostly weird. It has been quite a while now, hasn't it? I think it's been about a month now with no episodes. Um, I had to go on vacation, had time to myself, had to, transition into a new work environment, yada, yada, yada. Excuses, excuses, right? But I am here. I'm back on the mothership. I am ready to conquer more episodes throughout the year. I've had some time to think about the podcast, my future, I guess, ambitions and goals, where I would like to see it in, let's say, 10 years. While I do love my random funny topics, the weird Reddit stories, just random stories that I can think about because I just retain so much information that sometimes it just gets compartmentalized in weird spots in my brain. But maybe once in a while, I will just yap on here. You heard it. It's like, what are those called? Like an audio journal of sorts. Just something that I can look back on in the future, while having you guys join me on this little journey here, this little social experiment. I don't, how do I want to start this, right? Because, I can't really, I do talk about serious things and I do like to talk about deeper conversations with people and such. It's just, I try to make things funny when they shouldn't be funny. I don't get the opportunity to talk about myself often. And maybe one day when I get old and my memory starts to get hazy and I'm a little tiny grandma, I can come back and listen to these midnight yap sessions. Relive my stories and things that made me happy during certain times, because hopefully I'll get to have these audio files for a while and hope they don't just disappear somewhere. Anyways, to start things off, let's just get right into it. Midnight Yap session. I use humor to cope with a lot of things. Making people laugh and seeing people laugh and smile at the things, just the outlandish things and remarks that I do, it heals part of me, right? That were damaged somehow in my past. I can't explain it. I'm not a psychologist, but that's just how I operate, I think. And I think a lot of you guys out there also feel the same way. Dark humor, just something really tragic happens and you just find something funny out of it because that's just how you cope, or else you'll just crumple and fall and turn into a puddle. It's just what we latch onto, is just humor, making people laugh, seeing people happy. That heals us. And, if you're a psychologist out there and you can explain this phenomenon, please email me at minalations@gmail.com because I would love to know, right? Because dark humor is just what what I cope with, all right? It's just how my brain deals with trauma, okay? So things don't get sad in my brain. I won't get into nitty-gritty shit on the pod because at the end of the day, I still want this podcast to emanate good energy, good topics. And while I know that life isn't always good and there are topics that sometimes I will have to talk about that aren't so good, at the end of the day, this podcast is a means of escape. Not just for me, where I get to just yap into a mic, but also a safe place for you guys just to tune into on your commute home or before bed, something to just turn on. Just listen to some human yap about our interests for the time being and maybe give you a good laugh once in a while. That's all. That's all I want. But getting back into semi-serious Minalations mode. We've made life so complicated, when in reality, it's really not. And a lot of people might think, oh my god, life is complicated. What the heck do you mean? There's bills that we got to pay, money that has to be made. We have to feed ourselves in this economy, and God forbid you can't do those things, and it's just a struggle, and I get it. All right, I'm not here to just sugarcoat things and just say, "Oh, life is, great, blah blah blah." Like, I know some of you guys struggle out there, and I get that. But at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, right? We don't live forever. We don't. We all have a due date. It's inevitable. It's Some people might think it's scary. They don't want to die, and I get it. It's just natural human, biology. We just don't want to die. Like, why do you think we're so freaking obsessed with vampires and shit and immortality and all these celebrities drinking fetus blood, right? And putting that shit in their face. It's because we want to be immortal, right? I don't think that's weird either. Like, I think both the ends of that spectrum are normal for humans. Like, we are scared of death, but also we want to like live forever. But at the same time, depending on who you are and what you believe in, it's not the end be all. You know what I mean? Like, just because you die your life doesn't stop there. Like, we all have our reasons, right? But at the end of the day, we all have a due date. And sometimes we forget to enjoy life as it is and focus on the things that do stress us out. I don't know why we do that. I don't know why we overthink and give ourselves anxiety, and we just end up being upset because we just keep thinking about all this shit that, life is unfair about. And life is supposed to be unfair. Life isn't supposed to be easy by any means. I don't think, you know, we don't we're not we don't start in the same sort of start line in this race, right? We all come from different backgrounds and privileges, and I get that. And maybe it's stupid and naive of me to even say just enjoy life as it is. And it's okay if you want to yell at me. That's fine. But I'm here to preach something, all right? There's a saying, right? Stop and smell the flowers. We've all heard that throughout our whole lives. I mean, I don't think there's a single one of you out there who doesn't know the saying, stop and smell the flowers. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. And like I said, I don't really tend to talk about myself because it's just not that interesting to me. I'd rather talk about the homeless man down the street and, try to interview him, but, people are saying that's a bad idea, but I don't know. I personally always have time to stop and smell the flowers. And, that could be a privilege that I have. And maybe you might be thinking, oh, well, because maybe you live a cushiony life on your spaceship, circling the stratosphere in Earth. Well, I don't have a cushiony life. All right. And everybody's, definition of a cushiony life could be different. If I wanted a cushiony life, I would end up being a stay-at-home mom with dogs, like 15 Pomeranians, right? Like a little herd, a tribe, you could say, of these little dogs, and live in a mansion with a pool, maybe own golf course, right? Something super outlandish. I'd own like McLarens and Lamborghinis. That's a cushiony life. Okay, anything other than that is just life, all right? And you just learn to cope with what you're dealt with, and you be grateful for the things that you are dealt with because, life isn't guaranteed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't ever think that you don't have time. A lot of people think, I'm so busy with work. God, like I'm working 14-hour shifts, blah, blah, blah. Like I have kids, I have dogs, I have to take my kids to school after school practice. There's so many excuses, right? And that's normal. I think that's another coping mechanism, right? Because when things get super, super, what's the word? Overwhelmed with things, we just fall into a pit in our head of just not good thoughts, just constantly stressed, constantly worrying. And I get that. But we all really do have the time to stop and take in your surroundings, the life around you. And why is this so important? Well, I'm not a psychologist. I don't study. I don't have a degree in human nature, psychology, all that shit. But I think we've sort of put ourselves in this big hamster wheel of just go, 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 go. What do I even see in front of me? I don't even have time to look back because that just stresses me out. So it's just always move forward, always look forward. And that is detrimental to the human race. That is what I am observing on my ship in the stratosphere. I'm looking out at everybody, all of you guys out there, and we are killing ourselves. And what do I mean by that? I mean that we aren't taking time to really enjoy life. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I can't enjoy life because I don't make enough money and I can't, take time off. I don't have time. I don't have time. That's everybody's excuse. And you're right, like time in itself won't ever stop, right? The next day will always come. The sun will always rise and the sun will always, fall. And it'll rinse and repeat until the sun engulfs us all and we all die. But until then, we have small moments. The times that you stop personally count. Right? I get it. I had points in my life where I could not stop, right? Because I had bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I had things that need to be met, right? And the sacrifice that we make is time. But we aren't on this earth forever. Like I said, we're trying to come up with immortality, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, back then, right? We all had different. I think right now, it's a good cutoff period for human beings. Like 80, right now, I think the average lifespan is anywhere between 70 and 80, right? And if you're in your 20s, that's like 1/4 of your life already. So you have 3 more of those 20-year-old lives that you've had to complete the cycle. And then that's your due date, right? If we all are living healthy, normal lifestyles, and yes, there are genetic encounters that happen that you might not know, but on average, people right now live to be about 70 to 80. Well, back then during, medieval times, during the bubonic plague, or even Spartan times, the grown average man might not live past his 30s, maybe close enough to be his 40s. And like if you were like 40, you were like a wise geezer back then, right? So think about that. Imagine if we still died at 40 and you're 20. That means you've already lived half of your life. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck am I doing? Are we living life or what are we doing here? I think back. The one gift that my father gave me was the idea of curiosity. Worldwide wonder, you could say. He was a hardworking man, and I'm sure a lot of dads out there are. And I respect I do have tremendous respect for all the guys out there, all the men out there who are dads, working their asses off to provide for their family. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and a lot of people out there might not have that. And I don't have, like, when I say I'm sorry for you, I don't, like, it's not in a pitying way, like, oh, I'm sorry that you didn't have a good dad who didn't play catch with you in your lawn. No, I'm just saying it honestly was a privilege to me and my sister to have such great parents because not everybody gets to choose their parents and most of us end up with really shitty ones. And that aggravates me, and that's a whole different topic, but I get it. If you guys, I'll be your mom and dad, all right? If you had shitty parents, just come to me. I got you. But my dad was always there, and he always, 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 always had the time to talk to me. I mean, tell me about the world. He is, to this day, one of the smartest people I know because he took time to explain things. And I think that's one of his gifts that he doesn't realize he has. But he has like tremendous patience, and I don't think he knows that. I had Populations on here several episodes ago, and you can tell that, he ain't stupid. I have tremendous respect for him. He always took time out of his day to explain things to me. He took time, imagine a toddler, right? I started to walk around, I started to talk, I started to sort of like gain sentience, and I think that happens after the age of 5, really, like 4 or 5. You start to like, oh, I'm a human being. Okay, like I can't eat this because it'll kill me. Like you're starting to figure out how to be a human at that age. So imagine all the questions that I had as a child. If you don't have children or if you've never been around children, you don't understand. There's so many questions. It's constantly just boom, boom, boom. What's this? What's that? Why is the sky blue? Why is the ocean blue? Why is this fish this color? What's going on? Constantly. But he always, always took time to explain my curiosities. We all start life knowing nothing, like I've said. But he took time to explain life to me. And I think that contributes, that because he explained all those things, contributed my passions for life, if that makes sense. If he never came up to pick up me and I don't think my sister was going to school at the time. So after school, every day, he'd come to pick me up after kindergarten. And if he didn't have those times where me and him would be sitting at the bench and he'd take a magnifying glass out and explain to me that if you angled the magnifying glass at a certain angle aligned with the sun's rays, you can burn little holes into the wood and bench. If I didn't have that like that one little chunk of experience with him, I never would have had passion for the sciences, the cosmos. Like that wouldn't have been the bridge to a lot of my passions, right? If he never took the time to take me and my sister out on all these random little excursions that we'd always want to do, fishing, attempting to ski, golf, I mean, you name it. He let us experience a million little things that make us who we are now. And that's what I'm trying to explain, right? I encourage everybody to experience life. And if that means, I'm not saying everybody has the privilege or the money or, the time to do crazy shit like go to Hawaii and swim with the dolphins or, go swimming with the manatees or go freaking, I don't know, up in space like Katy Perry. I'm not saying that, guys. Let's be realistic here. I'm just saying experience life within your means, but don't forget to take time to enjoy the small moments in your day to day. Because I think the world's culture has become very go, 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 and never stop to really think about what you're doing, where you're at, how's your mental, how's your health. It's just so fast paced. And I think it is going to be the downfall of our human race because we're not developing in great ways mentally. Why do you think? I swear, if you're born in the hustle bustle cultures in certain states, like you have more anxiety, you have depression. Like, why do you think that is? It's because of the environment that you're in. And how do you combat that? Like, oh, I'm stuck in New York because I have nowhere else to go. I don't, I'm just rooted here so deeply. That's fine. But try to look for the small beauties in your city. I'm not saying, oh my God, like go take a trip out to Switzerland for a month. You know? We just stop to smell the flowers, guys. And you might be thinking it's so stupid, but it will change you. You know? If you see a frog outside, go bother the little buddy. All right? If you see, a dog, a cat outside, just say hi. Enjoy nature. I think we're so disconnected with it that it is actually sort of rewiring us in really bad ways because yet again, it is the hustle bustle. I got to make my bands culture. We got to work, we got to provide for yourself, your family, God, God knows, your pets, your grandparents. There's a lot of things we have responsibility over, but we should also be responsible over our own brain, our own body that is trying to keep us freaking alive. It's hard, guys. I'm not saying it's life wasn't created to be a walk in the park. All right. It's never, oh my god, let me just prance around this stone path and smell these roses and oh, there's a little bird in a no. Okay, life was supposed to be this crazy fucking dangerous jungle excursion where you have to do things to survive. Okay, that's life. Life isn't just a walk in the park. All right, it's a survival excursion in the jungle. Okay, and you got a machete and you're hacking away things, hacking away at problems and obstacles. There won't be moments of just peace. I get that. I've lived through many wild encounters myself on this journey. But I've never forgotten to just look up, right? Stop macheting away at all the fucking obstacles. Look up at your surroundings and take a deep breath. Because you might miss out on a lot of things if you are just narrow minded, just focused on yourself, focused on how to get through the day. Take time to appreciate your surroundings. Okay, it will help you in the long run to not be so hamster balled into what society wants us to do. And that's just be little robots and factory workers and be riddled with anxiety and depression, and they just feed us pills and more medication. But people, a lot of people say being connected with nature, taking time out of the day to just really just ground yourself. And I'm not trying to sound like those tree hugger holistic people out there, but there is some truth in everything, right? There's a quote by Homer that really resonates with me. And if you don't know who Homer is, or if you've never read the Iliad, just do it. It's just a good read. I mean, it's a classic, really. But this is the quote from Homer. The gods envy us. They envy us because we're mortal, because any moment may be our last. Everything is more beautiful because we're doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now. We will never be here again. So love life. A lot of people out there, I know, wherever you are in life, whether you think it's the worst year of your life or it could be the best, you have to love life. You have to stop once in a while, at least once a week, just stop. Go do something that clears your head. Go do something in your means, whether it be getting, an ice cream. Go to the park. Maybe sit on your porch. If you live in an apartment, maybe just just find a little park in your area. Just do something to just disconnect from the craziness that we have trapped ourselves into. We're not supposed to do this as humans. We're not supposed to live in concrete jungles, and it seems like the light at the end of the tunnel is never, getting brighter. It's always going to be a small speck somewhere. We're killing ourselves. Take time to ground yourselves. Take time to enjoy the people around you, the pets that you have, the plants that you tend, just the community that you have. If you have one in your area, that's awesome. Because it takes a village, guys. We all have to come together and just realize, wow, this isn't what life is supposed to be. Because think about it, if we still had lifespans at 40 years old, what would you do? If your life ended at 40 years old, what would you do to change it now? I'm turning 27. I'm pretty much over the half cap of my life. What am I going to do for the next 20 years? Right? Enjoy the smaller things in life, please. Enjoy the coffee that you get to drink in the morning. Enjoy the company of your friends and coworkers. I know work sucks. Nobody wants to work. And if you do love work, you're just wired that way because that's probably what you saw growing up. But it's okay to not like work. It's okay to want to rest. It's okay to want to take a break from everything. Enjoy the pets. that you have. They live for you. Enjoy the calls that you get from mom constantly because they will stop one day. Enjoy the long talks with dad. He has wisdom that you don't even understand about, right? Enjoy having the freedom to wake up and essentially do anything you want because we have the gift of free will. And how you use that free will depends on you and how you use that to improve your quality of life. Use it for the betterment of yourself and the life surrounding you. Always, always stop to smell the flowers. And take care, guys.